Kyle Kalinske of the Secular Talk YouTube channel had a thought about why Donald Trump was doing so well. And with him essentially being the Republican nominee, I wanted to examine what role the corporate media played in his ascension. Let's take a look.
The mainstream media climate is so dumbed down that they're just robots, and they just only talk about the horse race aspect of this. So if Trump comes along and he gives the most aggressive arguments and he keeps repeating it and he's really confident, well then when you go to the mindless parrots that are on the different news networks, what do they say? They go, well, Donald Trump today repeated the attack that Ted Cruz is a liar and Ted Cruz is a bad person.
What Kyle is saying here is that the media reporters in the corporate world do not tend to report on the truth value of a politician's claim, but rather they talk about the reaction to the claim. So, in the repeated attack that Ted Cruz is a liar and a bad person, it would make sense for the media to examine whether that's the truth and also examine the truthfulness of Trump. But they don't do that. They just, let's talk about what the candidate said in response to what another candidate said. This is one of the big problems with sensationalism in the corporate media in general.
If your outrage machine only gets revved up when it's like, oh, did he just call Ted Cruz a pussy? Oh my God, that's so wrong. Tisk, tisk, let's shake our finger at you and say how unpresidential this is. Conservative voters, even liberal voters, are going to be like, okay, yeah, we get it, unpresidential, whatever, but give me more. What's going on here? This isn't something to all day long run. Look at how outrageous this is. Breaking news banner at the bottom of the screen. Presidential candidate says we should do war crimes. And then you spoke about that and said, oh, look, here's the part of the Geneva Conventions, here's the part of international law where he's violating, and this portrays America in a horrific light, and this makes us a rogue nation.
Kyle's making the point here that the corporate media refuse to ask Donald Trump a substantive policy question. Since Donald Trump is a celebrity, they know that the public will react to Donald Trump calling Ted Cruz a pussy, or saying, listen you motherfuckers, or saying, rough that guy up at a rally, because politicians do not tend to do that. They tend to be cordial. Donald Trump is not cordial. Donald Trump is a reality show star, and that's very helpful to the corporate media in a presidential election. They have a reality show star running, because NBC, for example, already has made millions of dollars on Trump. They know that he's a successful brand, and it is the media's jobs to rake in corporate advertising money so that they can put eyeballs on the television screen. That's it. They're not journalists in any traditional sense of the word, and they're not trying to be journalists. They are not failing at their job, Kyle. This is a slight misunderstanding. They are doing the job they're meant to be doing. And that is the point. We need an actual journalistic media. And what would that media look like? What kinds of questions would they ask a non-serious candidate like Donald Trump? And how would they react to him?
No, not a serious candidate. Get the fuck out of here. Advocating war crimes. What are you, crazy? This is America, you idiot. This is not what we're about.
Instead, the corporate media treats it like a debatable issue. Donald Trump thinks we should do war crimes. Some people think we shouldn't. Let's talk about it. That's a really shocking thing he said. But we're not going to actually inform you on whether that's viable, whether that's allowed, why that's despicable. We're not going to do any of that. Because he said something exciting, and we're going to talk about him saying it, but we're not going to talk about the implications of him saying it. That would be the job of a journalist.
Hey, Donald, why is it you went to the same billionaires that are funding Marco Rubio and were funding Jeb Bush and are funding the rest of them and begged them for money, and then only after they said no, you went out there and started arguing against the corruption and the big money in the system?
Instead, they let it slide. Oh, I'm self-funding my campaign, and they don't question him. It's out there. The facts are out there. They have a broadcast medium. They talk about it anytime they want, but instead they let his vibrato go because it's very good for ratings for someone to be that confident in their independence. But he's not independent. He tried to be bought off, but they wouldn't buy him.
You're so against this, the big money in the system. Well, then why the fuck have you been buying politicians from day one?
Donald Trump makes a semi-cogent point here that he might not need to be bought off by billionaire special interest because he is a billionaire special interest. He expects the public to believe that because he's participated in the broken system, he knows what it takes to fix the broken system. And to be honest, he's probably right. He's a great self-promoter. He knows how to play to an audience. And because the media that is meant to be a journalist outlet do not hold him to his claims, the public generally does believe him, which is one of the reasons why he's doing so well. He's not being questioned. So what about his claim that he would keep jobs in America and oppose free trade deals? What would an actual journalistic media ask about that?
Hey, jackass, your ties are made in China. Why should anybody believe you? You say you're going to fix it for the country. You can't even fix it for yourself. You're in favor of sending jobs to China. I know you do it. You're still doing it today.
He is challenged on none of this. And in his most serious, egregious positions, the desire to commit war crimes and kill civilians on purpose and go after ISIS's families, not ISIS themselves, but the families of ISIS, because they're guilty enough. Right? The media does not challenge him on that, and instead they make it a debatable issue. They say one side might have this point, one side might have that point. This is what they do.
Well, he says that. Bernie Sanders says that we shouldn't do that, and that's against, and that's not the right thing to do because it might not work. Never an angle of international law violates international law. Never that, because when we do it, it's okay. So, hey, it's debatable here. Let's throw it out there.
And what does that absolute loyalty mean ideologically for the corporate media? Where do they lean? What politics are they advocating for? What bias do they have?
It effectively is a conservative bias, because when you pretend like everything is 50-50 and you don't actually fact check the people who are wrong, what happens? Well, the Democrats are correct much more often than the Republicans are. So if you portray it as 50-50, you're biasing the system in favor of the conservatives. You're going with kid gloves at the conservatives.
To be fair, the Democrats aren't really challenged that much either. But it's a simple explanation. Fear-mongering is more profitable. Anything that will get eyes more glued to the screen is what the media will lean towards in terms of their bias. Because more people will watch their show if the Republicans try and shock than if the Democrats are quiet and try to work with everybody and are scared of ending the other side of the aisle because they want to please everyone. The Democrats are not aggressive, but the aggression of the Republicans to make the public follow the exact opposite of their own interests is what's working well for the corporate media.
The media was being factual and the media was doing their job. They'd have to keep it real and just give the facts regardless of where they lead. And the facts are the entire Republican Party has become a fucking joke. And Donald Trump is the biggest joke of all of them.
And the facts are the so-called news media profits from that joke and wants to perpetuate it because they make more money that way.
Because the media refuses to do their goddamn job, we might soon be saying President Trump.
Kyle did a great breakdown of how the media impacts Donald Trump's rise to the Republican nomination, but there's a major factor he's missing here. The media is not neglectful in their journalism in not going after Donald Trump. The media is purposely negligent it is not their job to be journalists. I'll say it again. It is their job to attract viewers. And the pundits on corporate news are simply mouthpieces for a capitalist oligarchic agenda. And the thing is that simply removing excessive corporate influence will not be enough. Network executives will still be in charge of the media outlets, and they will still have an authority over what sells well and over what stories can be presented in a certain type of way, and what stories will be too insensitive to the bottom line. Getting money out of electoral politics, which is something that Kyle advocates, is a step in the right direction. But that will not make the media do their job, because the media's job as the organization that exist now are doing their job. Let me be as clear as I can about that. They're doing their job perfectly well. What needs to happen is that they need to be fired, and that the job they're doing needs to be discontinued. And media need to be expressed as a public good in the public interest, run democratically by actual journalists who have no conflict of interest in doing a job that would actually be considered journalism. So good job, Kyle, for breaking down why Trump is such a massive influence on the corporate media. But what you've been offering is a diagnosis without a cure. And I think the cure, as I've said on this channel, is a worker-owned, journalist-managed media where the content producers are in charge. That's what will happen to make an actual media have a job function that resembles journalism. Thanks for watching. I'm Jeremy Einbinder for Democratize the Media, making a media that works for everyone. Thanks for watching.